everyone, and welcome to the Changemakers podcast, where we chat with interesting and engaging individuals here and far about change, making change, living change in their own lives, how they've experienced unimaginable change, and innovative ways people uplift the lives of others. We chat about triumphs over tragedies, mindset matters, and how we live out our life's purpose inspirationally. So please join us to be inspired and empowered to be the change you want to see in this world. You know, we can all be change makers in our lives. Here's to the change you're about to bring forth. Good morning, Changemakers listeners. Thank you for joining us this morning for another episode of our Changemakers podcast, where we, professional women who are making positive change in their lives and in the lives of others. And we could not be more excited than to welcome Sunni Lampasso this morning from Shaping Success to talk with us today about her journey and how she's making positive change in her life and in the lives of others. And so, Sunni, I want to welcome you this morning.
Thank you so much for having me, Kimberly. I'm really happy to be here.
Wonderful, wonderful. So we've known each other for a bit, and I've been so incredibly impressed with your professional journey. So why don't you share with our listeners a little bit about yourself and a few insights into your professional journey?
Sure. So a little bit about me. My background in training is as a clinical psychologist, and currently I'm a consulting psychologist and executive coach. And basically, I became very interested in psychology when I was in high school and I first learned about psychology. I had played a helping role in people's lives, I think really from a young age, and became very interested in psychology and just knew that it was what I wanted to do. So went to college from day one. I was a psychology major and really decided that I wanted to work in clinical settings and work with people one-on-one, helping them to achieve wellness. And, got my doctorate in clinical psychology and worked really with so many different types of populations, from children, adolescents, adults, older adults, families, really worked with various populations, and decided to move into the consulting field and executive coaching field based on my own experiences with, being in a leadership role and the challenges that come with that, as well as starting my own business when I did start a private practice. So really learning that applying psychology in the workplace, not only in a clinical setting, it can have a much broader impact. And, I think if I work with one leader in an organization or work on an organizational project, I can make a larger change that you can really see. And that's what I love about what I do. Like, I love working with new leaders in transition, and really helping clients achieve a work-life balance that works for them and develop their leadership skills.
Wow, that is such a powerful story. Particularly, I think, in the context of COVID, and all the changes that have been underway and continue to today. I can just imagine some of the issues and landmines that you are helping clients to navigate through. So can you expand a little bit more? What are you seeing with your corporate clients now in the workplace, and what some of their challenges are, and how you're helping them move forward from those?
Sure. Well, I definitely agree with you in that the pandemic has brought a level of uncertainty that, it's brought uncertainty to new heights. And I think helping leaders to navigate the high levels of uncertainty due to the changes in the pandemic, and adjusting to change and not knowing when we'll have to adjust to more changes, really navigating that is something I think that has been a theme as well as keeping teams together when people may be remote, there may be hybrid, really different types of environments, as well as, certain businesses pivoting as a result. So managing uncertainty, navigating change is something that I've really see a lot of clients and help them work on that. What does that mean for them? And how can they achieve their professional goals, while we are experiencing such uncertain times?
Right, right. Yes, I see it all around me. Our clients, online on our various listservs of professionals across the country, it seems to be pretty a universal theme.
Yes, definitely. And then, in addition, the changes in staffing, right? Many people are leaving their jobs or looking for new opportunities. So whether those are my clients or my clients who are in a workplace where many people have left and there's understaffing and increased workload. So those, I think, are also some other issues resulting from the pandemic.
So powerful. One of the things that I would be curious about is, if you could describe to your readers, describe to our listeners how this journey has proven to be a growth opportunity for you.
Yes. Well, I think this journey has definitely been a growth opportunity for me. I have been in private practice, as a clinical psychologist for about 10 years and had really wanted to make this change with applying psychology to the workplace, and had made the decision to pivot my business a month prior to the pandemic hitting. And so when the pandemic hit, that was a real, I think it took me by surprise, as it did many people. And working on this pivot during that time, where at first I think I was a little nervous about how could this work with a pandemic. It actually did work, and I think it was very good timing. So I was really experiencing a career pivot, a business pivot, as many clients were dealing with the same thing. So I think it's been a changing experience for me to sort of be starting something new during this really difficult time. And, I think there's been so much growth on my end, and I've gotten to see clients grow in so many ways. So for me, that's sort of why I'm doing this. So I think it's been a great experience, of course, with many challenges, but I absolutely love what I'm doing, and, have come to realize that the pivot during this time, I think it was great timing.
I do a lot of that is fantastic. I mean, I think that everything happens in a divine time, and there's no wasted opportunities, or nothing happens by coincidence. I feel like everything happens for a reason. And I think a lot of us, I've heard this from a lot of women entrepreneurs, including myself, that we were looking to make changes in the beginning of some positive changes in early 2020, and then this the whole global pandemic kind of had other plans. But I really think that it really emphasizes and spotlights our commitment to what's next in the journey, despite what's going on all around us.
Yes, I agree. And I think there were, many opportunities that came along during this time as a result of everything that we were dealing with.
Yeah, absolutely. So how, if at all, is your approach different with your clients when you were compared to when you were a clinical psychologist from now that of an executive coach?
That's a great question, and one that I get asked frequently. So I think it's very interesting because while there are some similarities between therapy and coaching, there are also some significant differences. So when I'm working in the executive coaching space, I'm working with, leaders in organizations or, small business owners to achieve their professional goals. So to really help them figure out what are their strengths and how can they be leveraged, as well as what are their challenge areas and what can they do to address these challenge areas, whether it be developing them using an action plan or figuring out how to outsource them. Whereas in therapy, it is a very different approach. So someone is coming in with typically symptoms that meet the criteria of a mental diagnosis. And we're really working together to reduce symptoms. So really, I think the executive coaching piece is solely work focused, and it's focused on an action plan for development specific to this person to further their success. And therapy, of course, I'm helping people to be more successful, but it's more of a medical model approach. So in that sense, they are, two completely different animals. However, they do have similarities in terms of really the most important thing in therapy and in executive coaching is the relationship with the client and getting to know the client, understand what their needs are, what their goals are, where they want to be.
Absolutely. It sounds like it's tremendously beneficial to your clients that they walk away with concrete action items that they can move forward and go forth and accomplish their goals and, realize their professional dreams.
Yes, exactly. And, once I've really helped them establish a professional development plan with action steps, I collaborate with them and follow them through, as they're working toward their goals and helping them to address any challenges as they come up.
So powerful. I'm so happy for you and for your clients who have the opportunity to work with you because one of the things that has always been kind of amusing to me as a business coach is, when you speak about being a business coach, a leadership coach, any type of coach in a professional setting, there is that segment of the population that, doesn't really understand or they can't really identify. It's like, why in the world would I need a coach? And I do the same thing usually every time. I say three names: Tiger Woods, Michael Jordan, and who's that other? Kobe Bryant.
Mm-hmm.
If these men had not had coaches, did not have coaches, they would not have been and reached the peak performance of their professional athletic careers, right?
Exactly. I completely agree. And again, I think that's where coaching differs from therapy, where, therapy, you're coming in with a problem that is having a significant impact on your life and on your functioning. Whereas in coaching, I'm helping successful professionals achieve more and, identify potential gaps where they can continue to grow and improve. And so much of, the executive coaching world comes from sports psychology, right? And, things to improve performance and achieve optimal performance, like our greatest athletes are very familiar with.
Yes. I was just watching a game with my husband recently, Tom Brady. And I'm like, this guy is insane. The level that, he's like in the mid 40s, I think. And he's, been named one of the best quarterback of history of the football or whatever. And I'm not a big sports fan, but, when you look at that and it's like, oh my goodness, what to aspire to with, you think, and you read about his regimen and, and one of the things that I've read about for the longest time is that, and you and I both are extraordinary, I'm sure, proponents of this, is developing and fostering a growth mindset.
Yes.
It really is like 90% of our success is that mindset. You can certainly accomplish mastery of a skill set or subject matter expertise, but it's the mindset that's going to put you over the top.
Yes, I completely agree. Growth mindset is so important. It's important for me as, a business owner and, constantly looking to improve my own professional development. And especially with my career pivot, I'm always looking to learn. And, I love working with clients who also have that same mindset. They're open to growing, to learning new things. And, I think an added benefit as a coach is that I often get to learn from them and their experiences.
Right. And so it's a win-win both ways.
Yes.
Wonderful. So given that this is a Changemaker podcast, let's talk about change making for a moment. I would love for you to share with our listeners what this looks like in your world and in your work, change making.
Okay. Well, I think change making is really everything that I do, right? So it's everything my business is about, right? I'm all about helping people, helping to inspire their growth, discover their potential, and really think about how they can best get to the next level, using my background in psychology to help them get there, whether that's figuring out emotional intelligence skills, or applying positive psychology to help them to, grow and to make changes that are important to them.
Wonderful, wonderful. And that's what we do here at Changemakers with our women professionals, is that we help to inspire, educate, empower, and most importantly, mobilize women to create the career of their dreams by charting their own course. Because as you and I both know, nothing happens by accident without forward movement and taking demonstrative steps to make those things happen.
Yes. Yes, so I agree. I think our missions are similar.
Very similar, which is one of the reasons probably why we love talking to each other so much. And I'm so honored to have you as a guest today. So with your consulting psychologist / executive coach hat on, what are a few insights that you would offer our listeners who want to move forward and make change in their lives and careers?
Mm-hmm. Well, I think definitely what we spoke about earlier, having that growth mindset, looking to learn new things is, probably the biggest piece. And, then everything sort of comes after that. If you're open to learning new things and to growth, you can really view challenges as learning opportunities. And I think that can help you with taking more risks. And I think being a change maker yourself, part of that is always inspiring change making in others, asking how you can be helpful to others, either, even informally coaching or mentoring others to help them grow as well. And in addition, I think, maintaining a sense of optimism, always important with moving forward and, to manage uncertainty. I think that's something that can really help. And I think something that people can forget to do, which is also important, is being able to acknowledge your accomplishments and your wins. And that can really help you to keep going, because I think change can be scary at times and it can be really challenging at times.
Wonderful. It is. I mean, and one of the things that we teach is getting comfortable with the uncomfortable. And because there is so much uncertainty, I mean, more uncertainty now than I would say ever in our modern, society. And that can create so much stress and anxiety because of the unknown. So one of the things that we see so much in our Changemakers program and, with our high achieving women is all the fears of, fear of failure, fear of making a mistake, fear of hurting people's feelings, fear of rejection, fear of, so many fears that they're not good enough, that the imposter syndrome, which I know is a term that's often overused. But, what is your view, I mean, of some of the common sabotages that high achieving women who've reached, they've checked all the boxes, they've gotten all the education, they put themselves on a career track or an entrepreneurial track, and yet they have these perhaps self-imposed roadblocks or obstacles that in the litany of fears. I mean, what would you say to that population?
Well, I think first and foremost is I can identify with all of these fears. And I just think that it's about learning to allow those thoughts to be there but also keeping in mind what is important to you and what your values are and what you're doing in line with those values. And really, that can help you with working on not allowing those thoughts to get in the way, right? Like the thoughts of self-doubt. And then I think too, with the fear of failure, the fear of making a mistake, I think it's also about being able to acknowledge mistakes and figure out learning from those mistakes. Again, with that growth mindset, looking at mistakes as really opportunities to learn and grow from. But, I think those thoughts of self-doubt that can come up for, most of us, it's about, allowing them to come and then also allowing them to go, right? And not have them get in the way again of, what matters most to you, what is your vision? What are your goals?
Right. Well, that's such a great point that you share with us, because I always like to teach our change makers and our women clients that there are no mistakes, only lessons.
Mm-hmm.
Whenever something happens that maybe doesn't go as we would have liked it to go, or we work so hard to make sure that it was going to happen a certain way and then it didn't, my first question is to pause and then ask myself, what is the lesson in this? What am I supposed to learn and grow from this? Instead of beating myself up, I was so stupid, I shoulda, coulda, woulda done this, that, the other thing. Then that, and to me, is we miss the gift of the lesson.
Right, exactly. Because like you said, each lesson is valuable if, we really take the time to examine it.
Mm-hmm. So that this is such powerful information, so much wisdom for our community, because it's hard out there. It's hard out there when a lot of our change makers members, they work in male dominated industries, and when you have so much masculine energy in the workplace and the feminine energy is not valued or awarded, women, these high achieving women, feel so pressured to conform to that, which it may, and oftentimes to their detriment. And they lose kind of a piece of themselves of trying to, work like the guys do, and they lose sight of their own strengths, which brings in a lot of that inner, that self-doubt and the inner judgment, etc.
Yes, exactly. And I do work with clients frequently on, how can you, again, allowing these thoughts to be there without letting them get in the way of what's important, because I think these thoughts can often take over and, lead to behaviors that may not be beneficial for success. Like, for example, avoidance. And I think really helping them with making that shift in focusing more, again, on their strengths, on what's important to them, and on their goals is,
Right.
Really something that clients find benefit from.
Yes, absolutely. I mean, it is when we stay focused on the positive and we filter out the negative, then you have no way but to go forward. And another thing that I've seen, and we do this here with our Changemakers members, is building a sense of community of people, of like-minded individuals who are also forward thinking and moving. And you can build that community of collaboration and collegiality, and that's it's palatable and very powerful.
Yes, I completely agree. I love connecting with other change makers. And I think, again, that's probably why we connected. I just really love hearing their stories and, getting ideas and learning from them. And it, helps, I think, with me going forward and giving me ideas and inspiration.
Yeah. And, we're all in this together.
Yes, we are.
So one of my favorite questions, Sunny, that I love to pose to our guest is, if you could give your younger self one piece of professional advice, knowing what you know now and where you are in your professional journey, what would that be?
My biggest piece of advice I would give to myself would be, and it was something I didn't know about back then, but really get the support of an executive coach, or even, a mentor or multiple mentors. Like, I think that is so key to success early on. And it's something that I did not do. And again, if could give myself that advice, I would say, get yourself a few mentors, get yourself a coach, and figure out how to develop your strengths and manage your challenging gap areas. Because I think I was not leveraging my strengths. I probably, I couldn't probably have even identified them back then. I was just really worried about, making a mistake and learning to do everything. So I think really having the support of mentors and or coaches could have really, I think, changed many things for me.
It is interesting. I mean, yeah, it is. I think perhaps it could be a timing. I did not early in my career have a coach or a mentor or a sponsor. I was really kind of out there on my own, trying to build a community. And in my early career, I moved from North Carolina to New Jersey, where I knew zero people except my boyfriend, who was not in corporate life as I was, and have always worked in very, very male dominated industries. And so, yeah, particularly, I mean, in many industries are male dominated, but in the professional services world, it takes it up quite a few notches, as I'm sure you've seen with your clients and how they share with you. Oh my Lord. I mean, it's just like can be over the top. And, I encourage our Changemaker members who are on those career tracks at those high levels, to find camaraderie and allies within their firms, so that they can avoid that sense of isolation and loneliness. Even when you work in an organization that may have hundreds and hundreds of employees, you can still feel very, very alone and isolated.
Yes, I think finding that support, finding mentors within your organization is so important. And, to look outside of your organization as well, and really just have that support from someone who understands and, can give their experience and perspective, can really be, so valuable.
Yes. So I just wanted to give you the opportunity, Sunny, to share. This has been such a delightful conversation. This is one of my favorite things to do, is to connect with like-minded women service providers and women professionals and entrepreneurs who are making such positive change. And I couldn't be more excited for you and the pivot that you've made into the executive coaching world. I hear your passion is palatable, which is so exciting to hear in these times that are so greatly needed. But, I wanted to give you the opportunity to share with us if there's anything additional that you'd like to offer that we've not already discussed here today.
Well, I think, just to summarize, I know I mentioned I really enjoy helping leaders in transition and new leaders. So, in upper management, people that are just starting to manage, I think those are times that are really exciting to me. And, I think they can also be really stressful times. So again, any type of leaders, new leaders, leaders in transition, those types of things, and managing really the work-life balance or integration are, things that I love working on with clients and helping them, to optimize their performance. So, I think those are great, great people to reach out to me. And, of course, I love working with women professionals, and I think those are really the main things that I just wanted to point out. Again, just that time of transition. I think so many of us are experiencing transition right now, and it can be very stressful. It's the times when we're most vulnerable. And I think it's the time that we can really benefit from having extra support and, working, being able to focus on our goals and make an action plan.
Yeah, to get that forward movement. Just to clarify, when you talk about leaders in transition, I would imagine that means a lot of different things to a lot of different people. So would you please expand on that a bit?
Well, and I think I left that term a bit broad for a reason,
Okay.
because I think, the transitions can be so different, right?
Okay.
Whether you're moving up in an organization or you're in a new leadership role at a completely new organization, or your organization is experiencing transition. Again, I think transition times are when we are most vulnerable, and it's unfortunately times when we often don't navigate well. So, it's something that I've also worked with many people on in my private practice, is navigating times of transition. So, now really times of career transition and, leadership transition is a space that I really enjoy helping people navigate.
Wonderful, wonderful. So lastly, this has just been so uplifting and inspiring to hear. What is the best way for listeners to connect with you, Sunni?
You can feel free to email me at Sunni. My name is spelled SUNNI at shapingsuccessconsulting.com. And my website is www.shapingsuccessconsulting.com. So that's the best way to reach out to me. And I would love, to hear from any of our listeners. Happy to chat.
Wonderful. Well, thank you so much. I'm just so grateful that you've joined us today as a Changemaker podcast guest. This has been extremely uplifting and enlightening, I know, for our listeners. And this concludes another episode of our Changemakers podcast, where we create bold careers and lives by educating, empowering, and mobilizing women professionals to create the career of their dreams by charting their own course. So until next time, please be the change that you want to see.